These Acolyte weirdos legitimately cannot take an L. It's almost impressive the lengths to which they will go in order to prove that their worldview is correct and everybody else is in the wrong. And this isn't the first time that they've taken steps like this, okay? About, was it 2 or 3 years ago, these exact same freaks were out there trying to demonetize, try to attack, try to take down these exact same group of people. Who are we talking about here? The people that are on the attack, obviously, you see rewriting Ripley. Just a bunch of jealous speds who have never really amounted to anything. Subsist on legitimate hate of much more successful, much more creative, much more appreciated people for their genuine abilities. And because they can't create anything, they're just deciding, like any good leftist, they're just going to go ahead and burn the entire thing to the ground, because if I can't enjoy it, nobody can enjoy it. And who's being attacked, who's being targeted this time around? Gary from Nerdrotic, Ryan Kinel, RK Outpost, and Geeks and Gamers. Of course, you know, just the regular cast and characters that these freaks always point to and go, you're just hating. Why can't you let us have our thing? Well, we let you have your thing. And here's the deal. It got canceled. Nobody supported it. If it wasn't for everybody talking about the Acolyte and how bad it was, the ratings would have been even worse. You still would have found yourself in this exact same situation. It still would have been canceled because, you know what? It was a bad show. It was a really, really bad show. I've been thinking about it because I've watched recaps of the garbage. I went through episode by episode when it was releasing, showing you guys clips, doing a breakdown of it. I'm just going through my mind. There's not even enough content throughout those 8 episodes. 4 hours of content that cost over $180 million. You might be able to make a lean 90-minute movie out of that. Because if you go episode by episode, realistically, you could probably get rid of episodes 1 and 2 and 3. If we're being completely honest, you could condense that into a couple of scenes, getting the entire band together. And you could have everything kicked off, because there are some Jedi that are in there, like Carrie-Anne Moss's character and the Wookiee Jedi. You don't even need them. You could cut them out of the story. The way that I'm thinking about this is, realistically, you kind of only need young Oldman, Tommen Baratheon, Master Squid Game. When it comes to the Jedi, could have had everything get kicked off because Tommen ends up getting yeeted. And you don't need episode 3. You could cut out all of the cringe of the power of 1, the power of 2, the power of many, because you got the same episode from a couple of different camera angles in episode 7, episode 6, outside of the goofy ass pool party. But that was episode 6, because episode 7 was the flashback. It's like, basically, you didn't even need the show. There was no story there. There were no characters there. It was bad from concept to completion. And because it was quote-unquote made for them, and it was an unmitigated disaster, well, now they're lashing out at everybody. I got a video that's coming out, I think Monday or something like that, with all of this news and stuff. You know, things just continue to get pushed back. But the way that they're lashing out at the critics, it may even pale in comparison to the way that they're lashing out to Lucasfilm, which is why public cancellation of this crap was a big step in course correction and showing that if you can weather this storm, yeah, our media might actually return to normalcy. There might actually be hope for us to get out of the other side of this diversity, equity, inclusion, and man jaws on women in the very near future. But it's going to be a rough ride. There's going to be more incredibly ridiculous attacks like this in that interim, when we're going to be seeing a couple more years, because let's be completely honest, there's, at least when it comes to Hollywood and the big budget and the big studio stuff, this is still holdover stuff. And this is stuff that was concept back in 2018, 2019, started to pre-production 2020, 2021, when everything started to get completely and totally batshit crazy. We still probably have at least a year or 2 of this nonsense being as bad as it is right now, but we could end up getting out the other side with all of the lessons potentially getting learned this year, with all the flops and with the successes the way that they are. We'll have to see, but it's still going to be bad for a little while. And on the video game front, brother, just to touch on something that we're going to touch on in a couple of other videos, the way that Concord was in development for 8 years, video games are going to be in it for a little bit longer. But I digress. There was a 2-minute long video that ended up circulating first thing in the morning Wednesday of all things, okay? They dropped this, and it's a rehash, okay? You might not have seen the video, but you've already seen the video. It's out of context clips, okay? It's out of context clips from, yes, Ryan, Gary, Jeremy, and a couple of other people. One that doesn't make any sense, but they're trying to tie it all in to make it look like, oh, look at you. You remember Milo, he was the bad man. Oh, he made jokes about Leslie Grace, and that got him banned, and it got him taken off of social media back in 2016. Ergo, you better start taking the same appropriate steps against guys like Jeremy, guys like Ryan, all of those grifters on Friday Night Tights. You better start doing something about that, because hate should not be a career path. Like, I don't know, man. I'm a pretty regular viewer of Friday Night Tights. Some of those people annoy me, but I don't necessarily think that they profiteer on the hatred. They profiteer on their on-screen charisma, their work ethic, their consistency. Meanwhile, these freaks, they just subsist in a world of envy, jealousy, and actual hatred. And yeah, they don't have career paths, because hate is not a legitimate career path. Maybe that's why they're so mad. This is just misplaced anger, right? But it's so crazy. They want to go ahead and, target these guys, of all things, which I don't really know, man. Maybe outside of just pocket watching FNT. I don't know why specifically. Like, you're also going after Star Wars Theory reacting to Amandla's rambly 8.5-minute long Instagram bullshit piece where she blames everybody but herself for the failure of the show. But the only reason that Amandla is relevant is whenever she starts to lash out at other people, because if you actually looked at the criticism of the Acolyte, Osha and Mae played a very small part of why people didn't like the show, mostly because she wasn't very good at her job, but it wasn't offensively bad, or it just didn't rise above all of the other obvious flaws in the show. Like when she released the diss track, which was obviously and arguably the most hate-filled thing that came out, that was the only thing. And that was the only time that Amandla Stenberg got brought up. When it came to Mae and Osha, yeah, people were just critiquing the character motivations, flip-flopping. The way that these people also flip-flop their genders. And then, yeah, when she did the Instagram story, it's like, that's the only time that she came up. So to try to say, in the way that, they're posting this stuff in the aftermath, okay, that last week, actor Amandla Stenberg posted candid comments to Instagram about a rampage of bigotry and vitriol by hyper-conservatives and sexist, racist, transphobe bigots. No, the bingo card and all that stuff. But yeah, she has received since leading the cast of the Acolyte. Beg your pardon? You post any of that, or are you just claiming that? But I guess we gotta go with this because it looks official. Right, okay. In fact, this known tactic was initially provoked by former Breitbart news editor Milo Yiannopoulos, who aggressively targeted Ghostbusters actor Leslie Jones. 2016. So these people's brains were so broken by two events, Gamergate in 2014 and Trump in 2016. That's just mentally where they're all stuck. This is incredible that you have to drag up Milo in order to try to drive your point home. That's nuts, okay? 8 years later, Yiannopoulos' playbook against marginalized actors has burgeoned into a multi-million-dollar business on YouTube. Listen, I don't know, man. Maybe you're going on like the far ends of the, what's that called? Playboard and Social Blade. There we go. That's the one that I'm thinking of. Estimates and stuff, where you're thinking that these guys are raking in millions and millions of dollars on views. But that's just clearly not the case, okay? Like all of those guys, okay? Geeks and Jeremy, Geeks and Gamers, okay? Ryan, Gary, I'm sure that they all do incredibly well financially. Maybe if they're making the right investments and stuff like that, maybe they've got substantial wealth behind them, doing better than the average person. That's due to their work ethic. Like, they talk about things that they like, that they don't like. It just so happens that a lot of people resonate with them, because the way that you're going to point this out, Geeks and Gamers just about has 400,000 subscribers, and they talked badly about Kelly Marie Tran's Rose Tico character from The Last Jedi, claiming that, out of context, one of the most hideous characters of all time. Where does that come from? What's the context of that? Are you referring to what she does in the film? Her actions that are hideous? Are you talking about how they took Kelly Marie Tran, the way that she looked on the red carpet, and how she's a stunner in real life and looks like, Rose Tico in the movie? Like, why would you do that? But of course, we don't need to know about that. The most unlikable character ever. Well, I mean, did you see the film? She does unlikable stuff. And there's a reason that she got sidelined in episode 9, and she simply exists for forced diversity. I mean, it's an opinion that you can take. Is there evidence to back that up? I mean, think of that what you will, but you're going to say that that's tantamount to encouraging harassment against Kelly Marie. No, that's absolutely not the case. Ryan Kinel, okay, almost 320,000 subscribers. A channel that frequently targets marginalized actors, including, Reva from Obi-Wan Kenobi. In case you don't know, Ryan Kinel's one of the top 1% knowledge directories of Star Wars, and the inclusion of Moses Ingram in the Obi-Wan Kenobi story, and the garbage that she brought to that time in the Star Wars history, it was an affront, not just to television, not just to Star Wars, but to sensibilities in general. It had nothing to do with her being black. Probably why she was cast for the role, because, well, Lucasfilm could just go ahead and roll out the whole, you just hate her because you're racist and sexist. No, we hate the character, which is different than hating the person, by the way, because she's a raving idiot. Days before Ingram called out racist backlash against her on Instagram. The two pieces of evidence that Ingram provided was she was a diversity hire, and oh my god, it was something else innocuous. Whatever. Ryan called Ingram a lunatic who can do nothing other than play the victim. I mean, is what it is. Ryan recently referred to Ingram's Kenobi character, Reva, as dumb and retarded. He probably said worse than that, but it also fits, because Reva is a dumb retard. And then, checking in with why Gary is so bad. He's made a profitable business reusing prolonged insults against marginalized actors featured in Star Wars, Captain Marvel, The Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, to name a few. There are far too many for us to just simply narrow down why Gary is so bad. He just also has the biggest channel, and it should just go without saying. And Amandla is currently the target of this YouTube-based operation. Nobody would be talking about the Acolyte right now. Like, the show was canceled by Disney. Okay, it would be long gone and forgotten. Everybody that was talking about the Acolyte has already basically moved on to talking about how trash the Rings of Power is. Justifiably so, and by the end of the day, you're going to see something else from me on Rings of Power, because I find that as a front to good entertainment, in so much as it's also a bastardization of Tolkienian lore. But it's whenever there's these little spurg flare-ups that happen in regards to Star Wars and the Acolyte, I gotta talk about this, because guess what? That's what creators in this space do. And Amandla's the target because she's the subject of the material that people are reviewing. Outside of that, when coverage of the show was going on, like I said before, it was mostly how awful the writing is. But anyways, together, Jeremy, Ryan, and Gary have led the charge against Amandla even before the release of the Acolyte, because that's what Amandla said, sans any references, producing nearly 40 videos relevant to Amandla and the Acolyte since May. Now, is that just Ryan's output, just Gary's output, just Jeremy's output? Like, what are we talking about here? These channels have asserted that Amandla is vapid and narcissistic. Well, she put out a diss track. So, the adult pretender, no, Gary calls most actors adult pretenders. Like, okay, that's not specific to Amandla. Literally, you're gonna call out somebody for saying that they're dumb. Okay. A half-black bitch, I think we know who probably said that one, for defending herself against racism. Where's racism? These channels have gaslit Amandla. Personally, well, okay, that's weird. By claiming she's playing the victim card, with Ryan proclaiming, "You've never been oppressed in your goddamn life, you bitch." That makes sense. These YouTubers also use racist dog whistles. Oh, there we go, including the angry black woman stereotype. Well, in regards to Reva, I mean, come on. And if we're talking about Amandla, it's the angry half-black woman. But basically, they want everybody demonetized because everybody else is far more successful than them. It's not an opinion or criticism. It's prolonged targeted harassment against women of color. We urge YouTube to enforce its community guidelines that demonetize these channels immediately and permanently. And then just looking at the sources that they cited for the video and for the context of this stupid screed, they use 5 Geeks and Gamers clips, the main channel, and their clips and affiliate channels, 3 RK Outpost clips, and 5 Nerdrotic clips. Like, the dude's got thousands of hours of live streams, hundreds of videos. Same goes for everybody else that's in there. And you could only come up with a handful of examples and 1 Star Wars theory clip. You had more references to Milo than the actual subject of this. And you had all of your sycophants try to signal boost this stuff. Like, there's a bunch of different examples that's down here. These are just all categorized in this one article, right? Like you got this, hate should not be a career path on YouTube. Demonetize these people from Niche. Nancy Drew is better than Sherlock Holmes. Okay, but somebody who just got a personal fetish for just blasting out bad takes. I've been on the internet a long time, and I remember what it was like before hate could be monetized on YouTube. I hope that YouTube take this seriously. No one should be able to utilize hate to make bank. As somebody who's outrage posting, demonetize hatred. Molly Damon, who's one of the key figures that's out here and who's gone on a blocking spree because criticism is hard, I guess. I've spoken at length about this or all this in the past, but the only way things get better is if somebody does something to discourage this kind of content. Until then, it will only get worse. Stay salty, you untalented hag. The fandom menace. What are we back in 2019? Okay, has run rampant for far too long and is now flourishing. Cottage industry of thinly veiled bigotry has been able to thrive while making fandom spaces a cesspool of hatred. It's time for Team YouTube to step up and enforce their terms of service. Right? We must defend the diverse people who, don't make the stories. They just use them as avatars and scapegoats for their atrocious talents. And so after blasting this out and it making the rounds, we come to Thursday morning. Rewriting Ripley comes out and they demand an answer. Hello, Team YouTube. The Star Wars community would at very least appreciate a formal response. So nice that you think that you represent Star Wars fans, because last time I checked, your representation of Star Wars can keep one show going, let alone an entire franchise. But okay, or update in regards to our well-documented and pressing concerns about YouTubers pushing prolonged harassment on your platform. And Team YouTube down here, well, they responded to this. Thanks for reaching out. Just heard back and confirmed that this content is not violative and will remain up. Oh, we totally understand that you may not agree with this decision, but we reviewed this video very carefully against our policies. Oh no! Sucks to suck, I guess. And people. And last time we talked about this pile of crap, he was purposefully trying to take down Gary. This was from a couple of weeks ago, right? And going on 14 hours as a call to action against 3 YouTube channels that use hatred and discriminatory rhetoric for profit. Hundreds of people have reported these accounts and reported the letter. Oh, tagging team, reposted the oh, so you just admitted that you're false flagging videos. Oh, okay, cool. And you're asking YouTube to go ahead and enforce its terms of service, but you just admitted to a targeted harassment campaign. These are the smartest adversaries to have. When you have enemies like this, what's even the point of having friends? Because they're a better marketing service than anybody else. I don't feel heard. I understand that this may be frustrating. Our team takes special care in reviewing content as fairly as possible. We really appreciate your understanding as we work to uphold our community guidelines, and if you say this stuff again, we'll be reviewing your much smaller, much less successful channel. Sucks to suck, I guess. But YouTube rejects apparent organized cancellation campaign from Disney Star Wars fans. Better luck next time, freak shows, because we know that these people cannot take a loss. And as Mahler summarizes this, all this because a Star Wars show sucked ass. Next time, if you want it renewed, don't snitch to daddy, demonetize about the mean people with opinions you don't like. Watch the show. Unless, of course, you don't actually like it and did this because you are pathetic. Yep. No, exactly. This is the culmination. Like the Acolyte, and the way that Gary puts it, it's the ultimate form of Kathleen Kennedy's Star Wars. Okay? The Force is female, intersectionality, DEI box checking at its absolute worst. At its height, at its zenith, we're never going to see it again. And we're never going to see such a collapse and spurg out like this, because we're never going to be afforded this opportunity ever again, because those freaks got pandered to. It didn't work, and now we move on. At least that's what would happen in normal times. But no. Because these people, throughout their entire life, were told that nothing that they ever did was wrong. This is the participation trophy generation run amok. Even when they're going through school, reaffirmed with all of their decisions. Never bullied, and even if they did feel a little bit of pressure, immediately ran to the principal's office and sought retribution against anybody trying to correct them. Do the same thing at work, running to HR the moment that they aren't affirmed in their existence. And now that all their screeching on social media isn't being responded to positively by the big corporation, they don't know what to do with themselves. And the only way they know how to move is lash out irrationally, tell on themselves, and do the same things that they're accusing everybody else of doing. Because Master of the TDS, once again, has this little collage that's out there of, actual threats, actual hatred against Star Wars theory, just because he pointed out some inconsistency in the Acolyte. Who's the real haters around here? Oh, right. Always the same people. Big shock. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been John Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.